Shalom Israel, Shalom, Shalom. Brother Nakwam, watchman for Israel, coming back at you with these precepts and another cold cut to give, of course, our honor and our glory to Yahweh. By Shema Mashiach, Malak Yabushai, double honors to the elect elders of the house of David that's been in this truth for decades and decades, patiently waiting for the second coming of Mashiach, Malak Yabushai. Hearty, mighty Shalom to all of the mighty men of the Most High God who are out there in the highways and byways, pushing this truth, magnify the ministry, presenting their body as a living sacrifice, and enduring all things for the elect's sake. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the men that may not be out there in the highways and byways as of yet, but they're working on it. They're getting built up in the spirit. They're praying, they're fasting, they're studying. They're being diligent and abounding in the work of the Lord. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the Aquath out there, the sensitive sisters out there, holding it down in the households, reverencing their husbands, being submissive and diligent, and moving in the spirit of a righteous foremother. Shalom, shalom. And shalom to everybody tuning in live, a Hebrew daughter, Louise Fambro, and everybody who's tuning in and that will tune in, Lord willing. The topic of this cold cut is WFI Law School, Deuteronomy chapter 23, Abhor and Edomite and other diverse laws. I want to go back into the law. We haven't went too deep into Deuteronomy, the 23rd chapter. A lot of times we address key precepts about a bastard upon the Edomite, usury and other diverse topics within that chapter. But I want to take on that chapter as a whole through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmi Rashai and dive right into this law. Right. So let's dive right into it. Deuteronomy, the 23rd chapter, right? I'm going to start straight from the top. All right. So this is Deuteronomy. Remember, in the time of Deuteronomy, Moses is laying the law down into the generation that is about to enter into the promised land. Everybody that came out originally during the time of Moses and Aaron and Miriam, right? All those men died, man. You know, and everybody else that wasn't of age at that time, now they're receiving the law because they weren't able to receive that law on Mount Sinai. All right, they were too young. So now they have grown. It's been 40 years, and now it's time for them to receive that law and reconfirm it. So Deuteronomy means essentially a second law. So due to the fact of them getting the law the first time. Right? So it reads, he that is wounded, I'm gonna start at verse 1. He that is wounded in the stones, or hath his private member cut off, shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. So the Lord is showing you who's excluded, right? They tell you here, persons excluded from the assembly. These are the people that are without. There's the Most High is not inclusive, right? It's not just for all people. There is no come as you are. If there was come as you are, then you can't come if you wounded in the stones. That is who you are, and it may not be your fault, man. There is no come as you are in the assembly. The assembly is the church, right? The church represents the congregation, mainly of men. Now you have women and children, but it's speaking about the assembly. All right. Now, what does it mean to be wounded in the stones? Well, let's go into this word stones. It's not talking about the rock collection that you have, right? That's not what it's talking about. This wounded in the stones, I actually want to go into this, right? And like I said, we're going to be straight up and down. To bruise, wound by crushing, to split by wound. So your stones is talking about straight up and down your testicles. All right. That's what it's talking about. If you're wounded in the stones, right? And the Lord said also, if you have your private member cut off, then you're not going to enter into the congregation. The Lord isn't dealing with, and in today's society, those are your transformers, right? Those are your transformers. Those are your, I remember Will Smith's son said that. He said he was thinking about cutting his private member off. Thought it might be something cool to do. So he was, they say he was on his way to go do it. And they say, well, hold on. Well, look, you got to think about this. And he kind of said, okay, look, I'm not going to do it. Right. So this is a big deal, man. Right. The Most High is not allowing just anybody in the congregation. Now you can say, well, that's mean. What did they do to deserve that? This is the will of Yahweh Bashmi Yahushua. Right now, when you go into the book of Isaiah, right? Because you may be somebody who's a eunuch, right? You may be a eunuch. A eunuch is somebody. Let's go to Matthew 19. Let's prove that. Right, there are different types of eunuchs, right? So this is Matthew chapter 19 and verse 12. It reads, "For there are some eunuchs which were so born from their mother's womb, and there are some eunuchs which were made eunuchs of men, and there be eunuchs which have made themselves eunuchs for the kingdom of heaven's sake. He that is able to receive it, let him receive it." So a eunuch is somebody who essentially whose private member and or their stones have been removed, right? Whether they were castrated and their private member was cut off, or they were double castrated and their stones were cut off. Now, if you were in that on that level, you couldn't enter into the congregation. You got certain eunuchs that are born eunuchs from their mother's womb too, right? Meaning it's a genital disorder, some type of a disease or whatever the case may be, where they may not be able to have those things, right? And then you have eunuchs, which are spiritual eunuchs, because they are willingly, Salakia, pull this back up. They are willingly abstaining from laying down with the woman that they may focus on the kingdom of heaven. The Lord said, "He that is able to receive it, let him receive it." So you had eunuchs in the ancient world, right? Now you really don't see that term thrown out there now, but that's essentially what that word eunuch means. Now the Lord said in Isaiah chapter 56, right? Go to Isaiah chapter 56. This is Isaiah chapter 56 and verse 6. I'll start at 4. Let's start at 3. Isaiah chapter 56 and 3. "Neither let the son of the stranger that hath joined himself to the Lord speak, saying, The Lord hath utterly separated me from his people. Neither let the eunuch say, Behold, I am a dry tree." Because these are originally people that were excluded. The stranger, you may have been cut off, right? Maybe you were exiled, banished. Maybe you didn't attend to the three major high holy days, right? Your feast of unleavened bread, your feast of weeks, and your feast of tabernacles. Maybe you were excluded, you were a stranger. Maybe you were caught eating blood and fat, man. Right? Maybe certain things you did that made you a stranger. Maybe in Leviticus 25 and 35, maybe you became, poor, man. And you became a stranger and you had to dwell with your brother. There are many ways that an Israelite could have became a stranger. But the Most High said, hey, look, even though that brother may have been cut off from his people, and the grace of Yahweh, Bashmi Awashai, I'm going to allow repentance and allow that brother to come back. That's what the Most High said. The Lord also said, another outcast of people is a eunuch. These are different outcasts he's naming in Isaiah chapter 56. A lot of people read Isaiah 56 and they think all nations can be saved, but they don't understand a historical aspect of the exclusion of particular Israelites based off of their works or based off of particular actions, right? And these men were completely banished and excluded from the assembly. But now that Yahweh Bashmi Awashai has given his people grace and mercy through repentance, those same people who were excluded can now be brought back into the fold. One of those people is a stranger. The other one is a eunuch, right? Because you may be born a eunuch and you might, I don't know if I'm going to make it to the kingdom. I'm dealing with, God knows what. This is hell. And does that mean you're automatically going to be destroyed? Well, no, that's where the grace of Yahweh Bashmi Awashai comes in, man. Right? That's why it reads, neither let the eunuch say, Behold, I am a dry tree. For thus said the Lord unto the eunuchs that keep my Sabbaths, and choose the things that please me, and take hold of my covenant. Even unto them will I give in mine house and within my walls a place and a name better than of sons and of daughters. And I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off. So a eunuch can make it, man, under this grace of Yahweh Bashmi Awashai. In the ancient world, and you were completely cut off. Don't you know there was a man in the book of Acts, the 8th chapter, who was a eunuch? right? Let's get that in Acts, right? This is Acts chapter 8 and verse 27. And he arose and went, and behold, a man of Ethiopia, an eunuch of great authority under Candace, queen of the Ethiopians, who had the charge of all her treasure and had come to Jerusalem for to worship, was returning and sitting in his chariot, read Esaias the prophet. Then the Spirit said unto Philip, go near and join thyself to this chariot. So this man was a eunuch, but hey, this man is about to receive the words of the Lord. Let's jump down. This is Acts chapter 8 and verse 37. And Philip said, if thou believest with all thine heart, thou mayest. And he answered and said, I believe that Yahushua Hamashiach is the Son of the Most High. And he commanded the chariot to stand still. And they went down both into the water, both Philip and the eunuch, and he baptized him. You see that? So the eunuch was baptized, man. The eunuch believed, right? And the eunuch, that brother's going to be in the kingdom. So that shows you in Isaiah chapter 56 that the Most High words is true. If you're a eunuch in today's time and you choose through the spirit of Yahweh Yahushua to repent, forsake sin, forsake the world, you can come into this fold. Now, if you are a brother in the ancient world, right? When I say the ancient world, I'm speaking pre-Yahushua, then these things were not permissible unto you, man. Isaiah chapter 56 and 6. Also, the sons of the stranger that join themselves to the Lord, to serve him, and to love the name of Yahweh, to be his servants, everyone that keepeth the Sabbath from polluting it, and taketh hold of my covenant. Because if you were the son of a stranger, you were also exiled. But hey, guess what? They can also come back into this thing. And this isn't speaking about the other nations. Even them will I bring to my holy mountain and make them joyful in the house of my prayer. Their burnt offerings and their sacrifices shall be accepted upon my altar. For my house shall be called a house of prayer for all people. The all people isn't all Edomites, all Moabites, and Hamites. The all people are what? All of the Israelite people. Whether you're a eunuch, whether you're a stranger, whether you're the son of a stranger, right? It doesn't matter. The house of prayer is for all people, all Israelite people. Stop letting people take this verse out of context and say all people is all people of the earth when he just told you who the kind of people are. The Israelites, the people that did burnt offerings, the people that knew about the Sabbath, those who could take hold of the covenant, those who may have been wounded in the stones. All right, the all people are all of the Israelite people. Let's go back to Deuteronomy chapter 23. Right? Deuteronomy chapter 23 and 1 again. He that is wounded in the stones, or hath his private member cut off, shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. A bastard shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord, even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Now, what is a bastard? That's where you hear the word mamzir from, or mamzar. Here's a bastard. Now, that's a term they just throw out there in today's society. Let's just put up the definition, right? And let's kind of see what they give you. See that? Now it's just the word that means an unpleasant or despicable person. Well, in the ancient world, that's not what it meant. All right? It didn't just mean somebody just unpleasant or despicable. And they put an example. He lied to me, the bastard. Right? People just throw words out there. But let's go back in the ancient world. Right? Let's go back in the ancient world. Now here's an adjective, bastard, no longer in its pure or original form. Right? And that's not too far off. So a bastard, child of incest, illegitimate child, mixed population, born of a Jewish father and a heathen mother, or vice versa. And this is the term that the world equates it to today. First, they equate it to a son whose father is not around, or they equate it in the biblical sense to interracial relationship between an Israelite man and a heathen woman. And they say that child is a bastard. Now, let's actually go into this. Right? Let's go into this word bastard. I want to give an example of why the Most High said that a bastard shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Right? If you were a child of adultery, right? If you were a child of fornication, incest, right? These things made you not acceptable within a congregation. Now, you did have men who laid down with heathen women. Those men weren't necessarily excluded from the congregation, right? And we can give a few examples. Nevertheless, because think about David's lineage, man. David's father was Jesse, and Jesse's father was Obed, and Obed's father was Boaz. Boaz laid down with Ruth. They brought forth Obed. He was still accepted in the congregation. Jesse was accepted in the congregation, and David and his brethren were all accepted within the assembly, right? But you do have certain instances. Let's actually go to, let's see, let's go to Judges. We'll kind of get an example of that. Judges chapter 11. This is Judges chapter 11 and 1. Now Jephthah the Gileadite was a mighty man of valor, and he was the son of an harlot. You see that? And Gilead begat Jephthah, and Gilead's wife bare him sons, and his wife's sons grew up, and they thrust out Jephthah, and said unto him, Thou shalt not inherit in our father's house, for thou art the son of a strange woman. You see that? So he was the son of a strange woman because he was the son of a harlot. If your mother was a harlot, or if you were a child of incest or adultery, you were excluded, right? You didn't receive the same social rights as the next Israelite. You were essentially looked at as an outcast or even a stranger because your mother wasn't really of that royal stock. All right. Now, does that mean this man's not an Israelite? No, I mean, he's still an Israelite, but for societal purposes and assembly purposes and to prevent confusion, and this man, they wanted to thrust this man out. And he was the son of a strange woman, right? Let's go to another account. Let's go to the book of Wisdom of Solomon, right? Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3, right? Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3. So again, if you were the child, that's what that word bastard is going into. It's not just, okay, well, this brother is an Israelite from the tribe of Judah. Okay, his woman is a Moabite. That child is a bastard. No, it's a lot deeper than that, right? There's a lot deeper than the offspring of just a heathen woman, right? You have many different variables that you have to take into account when you're breaking that scripture down, because you have other relationships that were forbidden, and the children that were born of them had to bear that burden of that forbidden relationship, right? So this is Wisdom of Solomon chapter 3 and verse, let's start at, this is another good account, right? Wisdom of Solomon chapter 3 and verse 11. For whoso despiseth wisdom and nurture, he is miserable, and their hope is vain, their labors unfruitful, and their works unprofitable. Their wives are foolish, and their children wicked. Their offspring is cursed. Wherefore, blessed is the barren that is undefiled, which hath not known the sinful bed. She shall have fruit and the visitation of souls. And blessed is the eunuch. There's that eunuch again. See that? And blessed is the eunuch, which with his hands hath wrought no iniquity, nor imagined wicked things against God. For unto him shall be given the special gift of faith and an inheritance in the temple of the Lord, more acceptable to his mind. So this links right up to what we were going into about the Most High giving grace unto the eunuch. Right, verse 15. For glorious is the fruit of good labors, and the root of wisdom shall never fall away. As for the children of adulterers, as for the children of adulterers, they shall not come to their perfection. And the seed, meaning the offspring, and the seed of an unrighteous bed shall be rooted out. So you may not have even committed adultery, but if you were the child of adultery, I mean, nobody wanted to deal with you, man. You know, nobody wanted to invite you to their weddings. You weren't coming to brothers' feast days, man, that they were having. And if you had, a marketplace, or you sold fish, or you were a blacksmith, you made weapons, or if you were an apothecary or a potter, nobody wanted to do business with you. Oh, you're the son of an adulterer. So you kind of had a rough life, man. You know, it reads, they shall not come to their perfection, and the seed of an unrighteous bed shall be rooted out. For though they live long, yet they shall be nothing regarded, and their last age shall be without honor. So they were really nothing regarded. They were nobodies, right? They were outcasts, the children of adulterers, the son of an harlot. Let's get another one. Let's go to the book of Ecclesiasticus, the 23rd chapter, right? Let's go to Ecclesiasticus chapter 23, Salakia, and we'll start at verse, I want to get straight to the point, 21. I'll start at 22. Sirach chapter 23 and 22. Thus shall it go also with the wife that leaveth her husband and bringeth in an heir by another. So you got a woman, she'll leave her husband and get pregnant by another man. She may not have been caught in the act of adultery, but now it's coming to light. It's like, for first she had disobeyed the law of the Most High, and secondly, she hath trespassed against her own husband. And thirdly, she played the whore in adultery. So she broke Leviticus 20 and 10, Leviticus 19 and 17, and the book of Deuteronomy 23 and 17. And brought children by another man. She shall be brought out into the congregation, and inquisition shall be made of her children. See that? Because they have to figure out, okay, look, do you belong to the right father or do you not? They make inquisition, inquire. They ask questions, they do research. Our forefathers would kind of figure this thing out. And if these children were the children of adultery, indeed, they were thrust out. And they were not allowed in. Straight up. Right? And there's nothing that they could do about it. Inquisition shall be made of her children. Her children shall not take root, and her branches shall bring forth no fruit. She shall leave her memory to be cursed, and her reproach shall not be blotted out. You see that? So there's a big deal that goes on with bringing people within a congregation, right? And sons of harlots, sons of adultery, ancestral forbidden relationships were all forbidden. Ecclesiastes chapter 41 and verse 5. The children of sinners are abominable children, and they that are conversant in the dwelling of the ungodly. The inheritance of sinners' children shall perish, and their posterity shall have a perpetual reproach. The children will complain of an ungodly father, because they shall be reproached for his sakes. And yeah, they're going to be hot, man. They're going to be hot. They're going to be mad because their father was off. And they have to deal with all of the ramifications of it, man. They got to deal with the trickle-down effect. They can't show their face in public. They can't enter into the assembly. They're going to be reproached. Even though they're not the ones who did it, they're the offspring of the ones who did it. And this is speaking about Israelites. But yet you got these Edomites that you deal with that feel as though they don't have to deal with what their fathers have done or pay for what their fathers have done. I mean, all the way back to the ancient world, that's always been a thing. Children are reproached for what their father has done. Right? So let's go back to this. And Deuteronomy chapter 23. It's always been a thing. So when we go to precepts like Isaiah 14 and 21, Jeremiah 30:16, Psalms 137, etc., it's not a wicked to judge the children for what the fathers have done. Right? Now, you do have the proverb where it says the fathers have eaten sour grapes and the children's teeth are set on edge in the book of Ezekiel, which means that if a father commits adultery and he's supposed to be put to death, does that mean the son should be put to death too? No, right? But that child will, if he's a child of adultery, bear the reproach of what his father has done. Okay. So let's read on. And the Lord said, a bastard shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord, even to his 10th generation shall he not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Right? So that's what that's going into. It's going into the offspring of a forbidden marriage or forbidden relationship. Right? That's what a bastard is in its purest context. Okay? And you have many forbidden relationships. There were certain people that you just couldn't deal with, man. You know? And there were certain relationships that just should not have been going down. Perfect example, dealing with a man's wife, man. Right? Dealing with your blood sister or your father. And many other such things, man. Where the Most High said, hey, look, even to this man's 10th generation, he shall not enter into the congregation of the Lord. Right? Verse 3. An Ammonite or a Moabite should not enter into the congregation of the Lord, even to their 10th generation. They should not enter into the congregation of the Lord forever. Who's the Ammonite? The so-called Japanese man. Who's the Moabite? The so-called Chinese man. Are they allowed in the congregation? No. How long does that last? Forever. Why? Because they met you not with bread and with water in the way when ye came forth out of Egypt. And because they hired against thee Balaam, the son of Beor Pethor of Mesopotamia, to curse thee. So the Most High is going to get up with them, huh? They're not allowed in because what did they do? They sought a wizard, a witch, a warlock, if you can understand, which is Baalim, to throw up curses. Read Numbers 22. You would have thought that you would see a nation coming out of captivity and you would kind of help them. Do y'all need anything? Give me the account when we came out of Egypt, when any of the nations came to us and say, hey, do y'all need anything? I know y'all just escaped, 400 years of bondage, right? We'll bring you food. They'll bring you water, beds, wine, oil, right? Cattle and oxen, weaponry, provisions. You had Edom saying, no, you can't come around here, man. You had the Moabites saying, oh, we're going to throw curses on them. As soon as we came out of Egypt, all nations conspired against us, man. So this is Numbers chapter 22 and verse, Slaki, I'm going to start at 5. So this is the context of Deuteronomy 23 when the Most High said that they hired Baalim. Baalim was like a world-renowned wizard, right? And he was famous for putting curses on people or blessing people, and those things would come to pass, right? So the Moabites saw us, and the Moabites were like, hey, look, we can't fight these guys one-on-one, right? The Moabite man can't fight a Jake one-on-one. It's not going to happen. You got people saying, what about Jackie Chan? What about Bruce Lee? Right? What about what's that guy? Jet Li. The Moabite man can't go toe-to-toe with a Jake. Why do you think? Let's go back to this. This Numbers 22 and verse 1. And the children of Israel said, see, Jake, you love them Bruce Lees, man. Well, Bruce Lee, man, he could do. Hey, look, send Bruce Lee up the camp, man. Send Jackie Chan up the camp. Let him try something, man. Ain't nothing going to be able to save him. Right? Or why would you say that about Jackie Chan? Why would you? Look, the Lord is telling you that these Moabites, they're not going to be able to go toe-to-toe with Israel. That's why they hired a wizard. Right? It reads, and the children of Israel set forward and pitched in the plains of Moab on this side Jordan by Jericho. And Balak, the son of Zippor, saw all that Israel had done to the Amorites. And Moab was sore afraid of the people because they were many. And Moab was distressed because of the children of Israel. See that? Distressed, man, because they saw a massive army out there. And Moab said unto the elders of Midian, now shall this company lick up all that are round about us, as the ox licketh up the grass of the field. And Balak, the son of Zippor, was king of the Moabites at that time. He sent messengers, therefore, to Baalim, the son of Beor to Pethor, which is by the river of the land of the children of his people, to call them, saying, behold, there is a people come out of Egypt. Behold, they cover the face of the earth, and they abide over against me. Come now, therefore, I pray thee, curse me this people, for they are too mighty for me. Hold on, let me read that again. What did this so-called Chinese man say? Curse me this people, for they are too mighty for me. So all the martial arts, your karate, your all that don't stand toe to toe to Yahweh Bashmi Abashai, man. Peradventure, I shall prevail, that we may smite them, and that I may drive them out of the land. For I wot that he whom thou blessest is blessed, and he whom thou cursest is cursed. You see that? So the Most High is telling you how the Moabites feel about you. They saw you. They sent spies, and they said, hey, look, man, why don't you curse us, these people? Put curses on them. We can't go with them physical combat, but we can we can throw some curses on them and break them down. This is why the Moabite man is not allowed to enter into the congregation, right? You're not allowed to just have a Moabite man at the Passover, man. You got a Moabite man sitting next to you at the new moon, blowing the trumpet. A Moabite man with a mitre on, man. Let's read on. Nevertheless, the Lord, this Deuteronomy 23:5. Nevertheless, the Lord thy God would not hearken unto Baalim, but the Lord thy God turned the curse into a blessing unto thee, because the Lord thy God loved thee. You see that? Thou shalt not seek their peace, nor their prosperity all the days forever. So you can't be nice to the Moabite, or you can't seek their peace. If there's a conflict going on with the Moabites, you can't try to be a peacemaker, right? You got a Moabite man getting into it with a Hamite, and you want to be the peacemaker. Look, maybe we should kind of just, get along, right? Maybe we really shouldn't do this. Seeking their peace and their prosperity is going to these Moabite stores too. Going to Yum Yums and China Walk, right? In China, USA, and going to these stores and patronizing the Moabites, man. That's seeking their prosperity. For what you think you're getting, beef rice and broccoli and shrimp fried rice and all these things you shouldn't be eating, man. See, our forefathers like Mordecai. Let's go to Esther, the 10th chapter. You can't seek their peace, right? Esther chapter 10 and verse 3. For Mordecai the Jew was next unto King Ahasuerus, and great among the Jews, and accepted of the multitude of his brethren, seeking the wealth of his people, and speaking peace to all his seed. You see that? So the Most High is about our people seeking the wealth of our own people, right? The Most High is not dealing with you trying to build up the world, man. Well, we got to be fair. We got to spend money to all of the nations. Some to Ishmael, some to Moab. No, we sought the wealth of our own people. How are we doing? How is our communities, our neighborhoods, our businesses? Jay got to love his own people and speaking peace to all of our seed. It's a sin to seek the peace of the Moabite man. It's actually off as hell. Right? That's what the Most High said. Thou shalt not seek their peace, nor their prosperity all thy days forever. That's why, Jake, you going off, man. Going into these stores, bending over backwards. A lot of these Moabites are beating you up now. Mainly Eve, man. How many more videos does it take to see where Eve is getting beat up by a bunch of Moabite women or Moabite men? Right? You go in there and get your feet done. You get beat up with a damn stick and a broom. And one of these guys shot somebody, man. I hate the Moabite man. Well, what did the Moabite man do? Right? Well, the Moabite man tried to curse you and kill you and murder your children as soon as you got out of slavery. And the Moabite man hates you too, man. We always talk about the Edomite man. Right? We talk about the Ishmaelite. But we really don't get on you Moabites, man. And you Ammonites. I'm going to read that one more time. Thou shalt not seek their peace, nor their prosperity forever. Right? So you can't seek the peace or prosperity of these other nations forever. Now, yeah, you live amongst them, right? You may have a neighbor that's a Moabite or, an Ammonite, right? You may work with them. So look, you may work with them at your so-called job, right? You might run across them at a grocery store. They might be reaching for the flour. Then he might, hey, look, you got to kind of know how to deal with him. You can't just, smite them to the ground, man. You got to be wise as a serpent and harmless as a dove. All right. So no accepting the Moabite man, right, and bringing them into the congregation. That is completely and absolutely off. Verse 7. Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou was a stranger in his land. And a lot of this verse is always controversial due to the coonery. That's the only reason. The only reason this is a controversy in Israel at times is because Jake still loves their oppressor. And I'm explaining, right? Jake still has a predilection, have an affinity, a love, an admiration, an esteem, whatever word you want to use for Esau. So Jake throws this verse out there. Maybe I've seen one Edomite use it, but it's mainly Jake. Whenever you're getting on Babylon the Great being destroyed and the so-called white man, they run to Deuteronomy 23 and 7. But what are you doing abhorring the Edomite? Don't you know y'all are brothers? They never ever talk about the Egyptian. They never talk about the Egyptian. It's always talking about the Edomite, but they never ever address the Egyptian. How come they never address the part where it says don't abhor the Egyptian? Because the Esau still got them. Their mind is still bad. Right? Now, what does the Most High mean when it says, thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother? Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou was a stranger in his land. First of all, does this mean that you cannot feel a particular way about the Edomites? All right, let's go into that word abhor. Abhor, to be abominable, do abominably, in the ritual sense and the ethical sense. So when you can't abhor an Edomite, you can't do abominably to them. You can't cause them to go against the order and the laws and the commandments. You can't do things that violate the law and the commandments and the statutes to them. So you can't just go out there and murder an Edomite. That would be abominable, right? You can't just go out there and break in their house and plunder and pillage everything at this time. That would be an abominable act, right? Because you are violating the laws and the commandments. Anything that's an abomination is something that violates the laws and the statutes and the commandments. So how you deal with the Edomite, it has to be in a righteousness and a subtlety. Does that mean you can't despise them? You can't detest them? Right? You can't feel a particular way about them. No, it just means how you conduct yourself towards them. It can't be in a sinful manner, right? It can't be in a wicked or a sinful manner. Because I'm going to show you plenty of accounts how the Edomites, how David put them in slavery. Saul slew many Edomites, right? We're going to execute judgment upon them. But the Lord knows our people, man. And the Lord knows that two nations were in that womb at one time, right? And they struggled together. So the Lord gave a law, says, look, despite how the Edomites are towards you, you have to conduct yourself in an upright manner. The Lord is not with us just murdering everybody right now. Even right now, the Lord don't want us to just go out there and just kill all of the Edomites. That would be abominable because we're not waiting on the Lord, man. We're not moving in righteousness. You're just going off of your own wrath and your own emotions. So there are laws to channel those emotions and to channel those feelings into a righteous manner. So you do things in season, you do things in equity, and you do things with patience. Why do you think the Egyptian and the Edomite are mentioned together? Well, the Egyptians just had us in slavery. And the Edomites are your perpetual enemy. And they sought to kill you. So if there's any two nations that Jake would be looking to get at any given time, it would be those two people. So the Most High has established the law to essentially do things in order and to do things and channel your emotions and feelings in equity and to establish justice as you live amongst these other nations. All right. It's not saying that, okay, well, you can't get on the Edomite. That's why it says to abhor, be abominable, do abominably, to be abhorred, to be detested in the ritual sense and the ethical sense, right? So that's what it's talking about. Now let's go. That's why it says, hold on, let me jump down. To loathe, morally detest, to commit more, to do. All right. So you essentially have to have that spirit where you are not going out of your way to do God knows what, right? To do God knows what to the like Sister Tristessa Salakia. We are not savages, we are above them, they are savages, right? So yeah, we're not just gonna go out there, we're not brute beast. Okay, we're not brute beasts, man. We're not just gonna go out there with a knife in our hand. And even in the kingdom, a lot of brothers don't, they got this misconception about how you're going to deal with your slaves. You can't just murder your slave. You can't just, okay, the nations and the kingdom out there, picking cotton, you just snap their neck and laugh. Ha, 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 ha. That's off. Right? That's off. Then you got another nation, they out there, chopping down trees, and you just start stabbing them in the back. Ha, 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 ha. Come, Yashala. That's wicked, brother. Right? That's not what Yahweh Bashma Rashad, is looking for us as a people, man. Things have to be done with a just meat yard, just weight, and just balances, man. Right? This is Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 36. They shall do no unrighteousness in judgment. Right? See that? I didn't know I couldn't feed Esau swine. You're not going to be allowed to feed the nations shrimp, crab, and lobster in the kingdom. Right? That you're not going to be allowed to do that. Here, Ishmael, eat catfish. No, they got to eat. You got to give them something clean. Okay, you can't give them swine's flesh or crab. All right, Moabites, y'all eating crab today. No, they're going to have to eat some lamb or some ox or some beef. There's a lot that has to change, man. And they have to grow their beard out. You got to make sure they're not shaving their beards. They got to put fringes on. You got to make sure they're keeping the Sabbath, the new moon. You got to make sure that they're purified. There's a lot to get these nations in order. They're so abominable and filthy. But you have to stay within the guidelines of the laws and the commandments. Right? If you go outside of that, then you're abhorring them. Yeah, the Lord knows how you feel, man. But you have to channel that in wisdom, and you can't do abominable things to them. Now, even I'm gonna say this, even in before I get this precept, even when we're executing judgment upon them, that's not abhorring them. That's righteous judgment from Yahweh, Bashim Yahushua. So you can't, when you have judgment that is executed, it's not the fact that, okay, you're abhorring them or it contradicts Deuteronomy 23 and 7. No, the Lord said, don't abhor them and don't do abominable things unto them. Putting them in slavery is not abominable. That's righteous judgment. Taking their babies and dashing them against the stones is not abominable. You should be happy to do it. It's righteous judgment. Selling them and slavery to other nations, it's not abominable. That's not abhorring them. That's sound righteous judgment. We're commanded not to do unrighteous judgment, which would be just murdering them, or you just walk at them and snap their neck, or take their baby and throw them in the water immediately right now in 2023. That's unrighteous judgment. You are abhorring an Edomite. Right? But again, when we taking these children and we slaughtering their sons and nephews, that is perfect righteous judgment. All right? Leviticus 19:35. Ye shall do no unrighteousness in judgment. Salakia. In meat yard, in weight, or in measure. Just balances, just weights, a just ephah, a just hin shall ye have. I am the Lord your God, which brought you out of the land of Egypt. You see that? So an ephah is something that measures grains or solids or corns. You understand? Barley, things of that nature, flax. Hin is something that measures liquids, right? Rather you're measuring a hin of wine or a hin of water or a hin of oil, right? Everything has to be balanced and just and righteous and pure. You have to have a just hin. It's like having a measuring cup, and every measuring cup, the damn half quart or the quart line is here, but you got some measuring cup where the quart line is up here. So now you're pouring stuff into it. It's not just because you moved the line up a little bit. That's wicked. Right? You can't take a measuring cup and kind of alter their lines and say, yeah, I think a cup should really be short down here. So you're pouring somebody a cup, but you're not giving them what they asked for. Or a just ephah. Just ephah is like it's something that holds grain or weight. Right? You're telling them here's so-and-so amount of ephahs of barley, but it's really not, because you're moving the measurements and the lines and you're causing confusion and madness. And you have to have a just balance, like a scale. Here, I'll give you 5 shekels of weight, and that weight of the shekels have to measure what you're giving them, and that's to balance out. Things have to be done in order. How you execute judgment has to be balanced out with the laws and the commandments of the Most High. Otherwise, if it's unbalanced and you're just going and doing judgment, but it's not according to the laws and the commandments, that would be abominable. Right? That would be abominable. Let's go back to Deuteronomy 23:17. 23:7. Right? Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 7. So now we kind of getting a better understanding of what it means when the Most High said, thou shalt not abhor an Edomite. Stop letting Christians, cooned out Jakes, Sambos, right? The men of the world, man. People who are still with Stockholm syndrome, stop letting them pull this verse on you, man. Go into it, break it down the way it's supposed to be broken down, right? It says, for he is thy brother. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou wast a stranger in his land. So you can't do it because Esau is your brother. That's what the Most High is telling you. Got to be mindful, right? That doesn't mean that judgment is not going to be put upon them, but this is what the Most High is telling us, right? And the Egyptian, because he was a stranger in his land, right? Now, does that mean that we're not going to do things to him? Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 15, right? 1 Samuel chapter 15 and verse 3. Here's what the Lord told Saul, right? 1 Samuel 15 and 3. Now go and smite Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass. Hold on, I thought the Lord said you can't abhor an Edomite. Why is the Lord saying kill all of the Amalekites? Why would we say man and woman? What about the infant? Infant maybe 1 year old. Then you got the suckling, newborn babies. Kill them all. Does that mean Saul abhorred The Edomites. What about when David? Look at 2 Samuel 8, right? 2 Samuel chapter 8 and 14. And he put garrisons in Edom. Throughout all Edom put he garrisons, and all they of Edom became David's servants, and the Lord preserved David whithersoever he went. Did David abhor the Edomites? Because he put garrisons in them, in their land, and put them in slavery. Didn't David spend an entire 6-month campaign slaughtering the Edomites? Right, with Joab, this 1 Kings chapter 11 and 14. And the Lord stirred up an adversary unto Solomon, Hadad the Edomite, for he was the king's seed in Edom. For it came to pass, when David was in Edom, and Joab, the captain of the host, was going up to bury the slain, after he had smitten every male in Edom. For 6 months, that's half a year. For 6 months did Joab remain there with all Israel until he had cut off every male in Edom. So they did a 6-month genocide. They were getting down. 6-month vacation. That's all it was. It was a 6-month vacation. Kill who's going to kill the most Edomites, man? Who's going to cut off every male in Edom? 6 months. You know, breaking down doors. This had to be the time of their life, man. Jake, now you want 6 months off of work. You want 6 months of damn unemployment checks. Now, Jake, you want 6 months of vacation in Hawaii. 6 months, off. You fake an accident at your job so you can get 6 months off. PTO, right? Hey, we want 6 months to cut off every male in Edom. Every day we're just putting in work on the Edomites. Now, the point of the matter is, did David abhor the Edomites? That's a question for you coons who like to pull Deuteronomy 23:7 to save the so-called white man's feelings and to be a bulletproof vest for him. Did Saul abhor the Edomites? Did Amaziah abhor the Edomites when he took them and threw them off a cliff? Right, let's get that in 2 Chronicles. Didn't Amaziah take them and throw them off a cliff? Like 20,000 of them, and they all busted into pieces, man. Look at that 2 Chronicles 25. Salakia. 2 Chronicles chapter 25. Didn't Yahushua say, or Isaiah asked, who is this that coming from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. Didn't Yahushua say that I that speak in righteousness is mighty to save? Didn't Isaiah say, well, wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth in the wine fat? Didn't Yahushua say, I have trodden the wine press alone, and if the people there was none with me, for I will tread them in my anger and trample them in my fury, paraphrasing, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garment, and I will stain all my raiment. That was a conversation between Isaiah the prophet and Hamashiach Yahushua. Yahushua's garment is going to be drenched in blood from destroying all of the Edomites. Does that mean Yahushua has abhorred the Edomites? All right, let's jump down. This is 2 Chronicles chapter 25 and verse 11. And Amaziah strengthened himself and led forth his people and went to the valley of Salt and smote of the children of Seir 10,000. So the Lord was with him as he destroyed 10,000 so-called white people, man. And other 10,000 left alive did the children of Judah carry away captive. So we've been putting these so-called white people in captivity, man. I mean, straight up and down. It's been happening. A lot of we're looking forward to it in the kingdom. If the Most High allows us to, be there and do that, we get it. But this thing been happening. We took 10,000, put chains on them. Now let's see what Amaziah, who's the king of Israel, anointed by the Most High, is going to do to these 10,000. Right? Let's read it again. 2 Chronicles 25:12. And other 10,000 left alive did the children of Judah carry away captive, and brought them unto the top of the rock, and cast them down from the top of the rock, and they all were broken in pieces. Hold on. You mean to tell me the Lord took 10,000 so-called white people and threw them off a cliff? 10,000. Imagine 10,000 people. I'm gonna just take. I'm not going to just rush past this like 10,000 is a small number. Sometimes you got to kind of take a minute, kind of really think about this. 10,000 people, man. That's a lot of people. That's how many people fill up I'm sure it's not like a basket. How many people fill up a basketball stadium? Basketball arena capacity. What, 12,000? Right? Look at that. 12,000. So think about taking everybody in this basketball arena. And you watch these games, and it's packed. Seat to seat. You see the towels flowing, right? You see the people, cheering. Imagine taking everybody out the, a basketball game. Okay, everybody line up. Okay, everybody come outside. Okay, stand on this cliff, and everybody get thrown off the cliff. Everybody. Now, the Most High said that they were all broken in pieces. Meaning when they fell off that cliff, you had an arm over there. You had a damn leg over there. You had a nose over here. You had a kneecap over there. All these things happened to the Edomites, man. So the Most High, did that mean Amaziah abhorred the Edomite? David, Solomon, Joab, Yahushua? No. You have something called true judgment and a righteous judgment, right? Let's go back to Deuteronomy 23. So what does it mean, thou shalt not? Actually, let me get this in Psalms 149, right? Psalm chapter 149 and verse 9. To execute upon them the judgment written, this honor have all his saints, praise you the Lord. So you have to execute judgment, right? A king or a priest has to execute judgment. That's like, your child. Would you just beat your child for no reason? No, that would be off. That would be doing abominable things. So you abhor your child. But if your child does something wrong, you are commanded to execute judgment. Same thing with these nations. Same exact thing. We are commanded to execute judgment for what they have done. So to abhor an Edomite would be to judge them with your works at an inopportune time that violates the laws and the commandments. All right, but when you execute swift judgment, you're commanded to do so due to their wicked works and actions. Okay, that's what Deuteronomy chapter 23 and 7 is going into. And again, there's a reason why the Edomite and the Egyptian were listed. These are your main enemies at this time. The Egyptians just came to pursue you. And they were overthrown in the sea. So you might have had some mind. And you had Egyptians amongst us, man. Well, not at this time, but when we came out of Egypt. So you have to kind of know how to deal with them. That's why you have precepts now, like let's go to Romans 13. Right? This is Romans chapter 13 and 1. That's why Paul had to say certain things, because you had a lot of tension between the Romans and the Jews. So you had letters written, hey, look, y'all got to calm down. You can't do nothing out of wisdom to the Romans. You had people assassinating Roman officials. You had people stabbing them in their backs. You had all types of zealots and things that Paul didn't want the church in Rome to get involved in. Yeah, you're enemies with these people, but you got to do things in order. All right. That's why I said, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of the Most High. The powers that be are ordained of the Most High. All right. And that had been written to those brothers out in Rome due to the tension that was going on, man. And it's the same spirit of Deuteronomy 23:7, due to the situation at hand. And it's this everlasting wrath between you and the Edomites and the Egyptians that just tried to kill you. I'll tell you how you're going to deal with them, man. That's what the Most High is giving you right there. So that's what this means. Thou shalt not abhor an Edomite, for he is thy brother. Thou shalt not abhor an Egyptian, because thou wast a stranger in his land. The children that are begotten of them shall enter into the congregation of the Lord and their third generation. So you had three, you had the men, you had another generation of men, you had a third generation. When it says enter into the congregation of the Lord, it doesn't mean that they can become a high priest. Right? We have to go through this too. Doesn't mean that they can become King Edom. Right? It doesn't mean that the Herodian dynasty can come back and you kind of bring them back. When the Lord says they can enter into the congregation of the Lord, that's what you call proselytes or proselyte, proselytization. Right? So he has to essentially, here's the definition: a person who has converted from one opinion, religion, or party to another. So after his third generation, they have to have a generation is about, sometimes it's 40 years, sometimes it's 100, sometimes it's 10. Let's say 40 years, right? Let's say 100 years, because we were 4 generations in Egypt, right? Let's say after, 3 generations. By that time, he has to have a complete track record throughout those generations of submitting to the will of the Most High. So if he get past those 3 generations or X amount of years, whether 300 or 30, that lineage has to have a track record of not going off, right? And he has to submit, and then he can become a slave. Him entering into the congregation does not make him the same as an Israelite. All right. He can come in and be a servant, a slave. See, what Saul did is Saul kind of went off. Saul took Doeg and made him, let's just type this in for sake of time. He heard him. All right, let me just type in Doeg, right? Right, Doeg the Edomite. Saul made him the chief herdsman. 1 Samuel 21:7. Now a certain man of the servants of Saul was there that day, detained before the Lord. And we got to go into why this man was detained. And his name was Doeg, an Edomite, the chiefest of the herdmen that belonged to Saul. So why would Saul make this man the chiefest of the herdmen? Because Saul's mind wasn't right. The Lord said, never set him at your right hand, lest he seek to take thy place. Paraphrasing Sirach 12:10 on down. Who takes an Edomite and makes him the chief herdman? Makes them the top man. But that's what he did right there, man. He took the cheapest of his herdmen. Now he's supposed to be a low-level guy. He's supposed to be, somebody that just, feeds the cattle. So they can come in their third generation, but they got to know their place. And that's underneath our boots. All right. This is Deuteronomy 23:9. When the host goeth forth against thine enemies, then keep thee from every evil thing. Meaning what? When you go to war, these nations had, what do you call them? Not amulets. They had like little amulets. They had, little crystal balls and idols and teraphim set up and, wicked things that you might take and say, hey, I want that, man. Right? You can't just go and take everything and spoil your enemy for everything they got, man. You got to keep you from every evil thing. What do you think happened to Achan in the book of Joshua? Right? What do you think happened to this guy, man? This guy, he violated that commandment. Like that's Joshua the 6th chapter, right? This is Joshua chapter 6 and verse, bear with me. Oh, 7, Slaki. I was right. Slaki was 7. All right, this is Joshua chapter 7 and verse, let's see. Bear with me. I'm going to start at 12, right? Actually, I'm going to start at 10. So what happened was they destroyed Jericho. Achan took a Babylonian garment and a wedge of gold. Then they went to go to war against the children of Ai, and the children of Ai defeated Israel. So Joshua was vexed. Then the Mosai told him, look, this happened because you got somebody going off in the camp, right? So this Joshua chapter 7 and 11. Israel had sinned, and they have also transgressed my covenant, which I commanded them. For they have even taken of the accursed thing, and have also stolen and dissembled also, and they have put it even among their own stuff. So this man took stuff from the Babylonians, the wicked things, and put it amongst his own stuff. Therefore, the children of Israel could not stand before their enemies, but turned their backs before their enemies, because they were accursed. Neither will I be with you anymore, except they destroy the accursed from among you. So this man took an accursed thing. And a lot of people have accursed things in their houses, man. You got these African voodoo masks. You got Buddha statues. You got crosses, pictures of white Jesus. You got four-leaf clovers and rabbit's foots and lucky pennies and soup and all types of stuff in your house, man. Those are all damn idols and cursed things. Rosary beads, little figurines of Saint Joseph. A lot of Northern Kingdom do that. They got Saint Mary, Joseph. These are accursed things in your house, man. So the Most High commanded you, when you go to war, you can't just take everything. Let's read this again. Deuteronomy 23 and 9. When the host goeth forth against thine enemies, then keep thee from every evil thing. If there be among you any man that is not clean by reason of uncleanness, that chanceth him by night, then shall he go abroad out of the camp. He shall not come within the camp. What does it mean he's unclean that chanceth him by night? That's what you call nocturnal emissions. Okay, you can look that up on your own. All right, a man might be out there at war or at camp, and he, things happen, man. He's unclean because it chanced him by night. He didn't willfully do this. It was by chance. For whatever the case may be, time and chance happened to them all. So this guy got to be without the camp, because essentially this goes into the same law of your seed of copulation, right? Your seed of copulation. This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 15 and verse 16. If any man's seed of copulation, that's your sperm, all right? It's not talking about sunflower seeds. If any man's seed of copulation go out from him, then he shall wash all his flesh in water and be unclean until the even. And every garment and every skin whereon is the seed of copulation shall be washed with water and be unclean until the even. And America's not keeping this law, man. You probably shook 1,000 people's hands, picked up some apple at the store, kind of looked at it, put it back down, took a bag of grapes. People picked the grapes and the cherries out. You probably had people violating this law, man. Didn't wash themselves. God knows what. You got women unclean, touching stuff, picking stuff up. I mean, this world is filthy, man. It's filthy and defiled. It's madness. So these are the ordinances that have to be done if you are unclean due to your seed of copulation coming out of you. Rather it's by will, meaning you willfully lay down with your wife, right? or it chanceth you. There are times where a man, it may just happen and he had no control over it. It's just by chance, by night, right? That's what the world calls a nocturnal emission. You can look it up on your own. All right. If there be, let's read it again, Deuteronomy 23:10. If there be among you any man that is not clean by reason of uncleanness, that chanceth him by night, then shall he go abroad out of the camp. He shall not come within the camp. So he got to be on the outside, right? He got to be on the outside. But it shall be when evening cometh on, he shall wash himself with water, and when the sun is down, he shall come into the camp again. See that? Why when the sun goes down? Because it's a new day. All right, it's a new day, and he can kind of come back into this thing. All right. Verse 12. Thou shalt have, and you got to keep the camp clean, right? You can't just have a bunch of just seminal fluid just lingering around, man. Brothers saluting brothers, right? You know, brothers hugging brothers, dapping brothers up, brothers unclean. I mean, that's filthy. The Most High, it's not into filthiness, man. We're a holy people. We're the cleanest people on the earth, man. Whereas we should be. There's no nation, like I brought up before I had this job, man. Probably the worst job I ever had. I had to clean these houses for Amalek. This was years ago. And it wasn't just Amalek. Most of them was Amalek, but a lot of them was just other Edomites. But Amalek was the worst, man. I mean, this stuff was outrageous. It was me. It was an old Jake, an old Eve, and you know that's what we had to do, man. You know, this was a long time ago, and I remember that this stuff was abominable. How these Amalekites live, man. You know, I mean, it was stuff that you won't even imagine. Jake is supposed to be naturally clean. We have laws of purification, laws to keep you holy. You got to keep these laws. There's more laws than just not eating pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster, man. And then and then anything that your seed of copulation goes on, you got to wash that. Throw that, put in the washing machine. You can say, well, I don't feel like it. No, you got to do it. If not, it's a sin. You're going to bring about spirits in your house. Deuteronomy, this is about keeping the camp clean. Now we're going into keeping the camp clean. First, we went into people that are excluded. Now we're going into particular ways to keep your camp clean. Don't bring wicked things into the camp, right? Nowadays, that's what? Doctrines. Don't bring wicked doctrines. Don't bring evil spirits and demons into the camp. Keep you from every evil thing. Don't bring no mystery books into the camp. If you're unclean, hey, you got to be without the camp. Verse 12, Deuteronomy 23:12, right? It reads, let's see where I'm at with time. Okay, Salakia. Deuteronomy chapter 23:12. You got brothers saying, I don't want to wash myself. Well, that's off. Right? Well, I don't feel like, do I really have to do that? The Lord cleansed me with the word. Well, the word doesn't cleanse you, brother. Carnally. It does spiritually, but not carnally. You still got to get down with these commandments. You can't be a filth. They got these shows like Hoarders, right? Every brother, you probably seen Hoarders. Man, some of these houses, man, if you look up, let me see a hoarding house. And they be having all types of madness, man. This stuff is madness. And guess who be the main people on Hoarders? Edomites. I could be wrong. I think it was one Eve I saw, but her mind wasn't right. Other than that, I don't see too many people outside of Esau that are Hoarders, whose houses look like this, man. Look at this. Madness. Then they be crying when they throw away a piece of tissue, man. They cut the camera to them. They do a one-on-one sit-down interview. Should we throw this away? And they sit up there crying as they throw away all of their wickedness, man. You know? Look at this. This is to the ceiling. Then they be old Edomite stepping over the stuff, right? The camera. People be getting sick and stuff like this, man. They be getting sick. Because it be cat feces and dog feces everywhere, human feces on the floor, rats and mice and roaches. Look at this. You see that? Look at that. Look at this guy. Look at this Edomite. See that? What does Esau know about warming himself up with the stove before school start? Right? Look at this. Sick. That's what the Most High, he expects us to be clean, man. Right? We live amongst sick people. This is Deuteronomy 23 and 12. Thou shalt have a place also without the camp, whither thou shalt go forth abroad. Man, what does this mean? It means when you gotta defecate, I'm just straight up. I mean, we're dealing with the law. You can't just do it in the middle of the camp. You can't just do it whenever you feel like it, man. There has to be a place without the camp. This is before modern day plumbing, modern day running water, sewage systems, etc. So if you had to do that kind of duty, then you had to go outside of the camp. Because the other nations wasn't doing that. Remember, even Esau wasn't doing that. Esau would use the bathroom and take it and throw it out the window, man, in the Middle Ages. And then there'd be feces all in the streets, and you have people getting the Black Plague, rats biting people. Esau has all types of diseases that he brings forth. Tuberculosis. They did not bring that to the so-called Native Americans. Didn't he bring the modern day flu, influenza? Didn't he bring varicella, what they call chickenpox? Hand, foot, and mouth disease. What else does devil bring? Scarlet fever, hay fever, red fever, the headache, the common cold. He brought all that over here, man. He's not into hygiene. The scriptures are into hygiene. They're into taking care of your body, taking care of how you live and where you live. Can't just be using the bathroom just in the middle of your damn house, man, like these Edomites used to do. Now let me see if I can actually find that. That's where that saying a pot to piss in and a window to throw it out of comes from, man. That's where it comes from, because they would use the bathroom and throw it out in the streets. Let me see if I can find that. Medieval times, right? Kind of shoot from the hip. Oh, you see that? Look at that. So to conclude, while dumping one's fecal matter out of the window appears to be something that did at least occasionally happen. Now they say, okay, it occasionally happened. Well, don't say occasionally now. Now they want to throw the word occasionally. Right? It says, while dumping one's fecal matter out of the window appears to be something that did at least occasionally happen at the Middle Ages in Britain, the evidence at hand seems to indicate that this was a relatively rare occurrence. Now it was happening. Now they want to say, okay, it was a rare occurrence. They would dump this out the ground, man, and it would be all in the streets, and the people get all sick, and they get all jammed up, right? And they got all jammed up. Now we've been had laws on how to deal with that, man. We've been had laws. And you go without the camp. Just be like these other nations. Thou shalt have a place also without the camp, whither thou shalt go forth abroad. And thou shalt have a paddle. This is Deuteronomy 23 and 13. And thou shalt have a paddle upon thy weapon. And it shall be when thou wilt ease thyself abroad, thou shalt dig therewith, and shalt turn back and cover that which cometh from thee. So that's all just like a euphemism saying, look, once you use the bathroom, you dig a hole, you take a hole, and you kind of bury and cover it up. Don't just leave it all in the ground, right? Esau walk his dogs, you stepping in dog stuff, and they put it in the bag, they light it on fire, they throw, these nations, you got Edomites taking a bath in it, man. I mean, this world is defiled. Elam actually does it. They have a tradition where they sit there and they take cow manure and they rub it all on their face. We pulled it up before, and we can pull it up again, right? But we as a people, we're supposed to be holy, clean, pure, upright, innocent, and wise, man. The nations are supposed to look at us and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 5. Behold, I have taught you statutes and judgments, even as the Lord my God commanded me, that ye should do so in the land whither ye go to possess it. Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom and your understanding and the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people. Right now, Jake, you live like these other nations, man. You think like them, you move like them. We're supposed to be completely and utterly set apart. From our hygiene to how we deal with each other, how we run our households, our wives, our children, forgiveness, judgment. We're supposed to be completely set apart from the world in everything. We're in a completely separate nation of people, right? So let's go back to this. And if you don't do stuff like this, people will get sick. This will bring about disease, spirits, demons, strife, confusion. So you got to keep that law, man. Deuteronomy chapter 23 and 14, it tells you why. For the Lord thy God walketh in the midst of thy camp to deliver thee and give up thine enemies before thee. Therefore shall thy camp be holy, that he see no unclean thing in thee and turn away from thee. So even spiritually, you got to keep your camp clean. Can't allow filth, like I said, this filth like doctrines. You're allowing demons in your house, evil spirits, accursed things. The Lord is giving you ways to keep your camp clean from evil spirits, man. Rather something chances you by night, you have to avoid the wicked things, right? How to keep your camps physically clean, because the Most High is in the midst of us, man. That's Matthew 18 and 20. For where two or three are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of thee. And we are a camp as a whole, and our camp has to be holy, right? When I say we are a camp as a nation, right now you got actual physical camps. Okay, you got Watchmen for Israel. Okay, you got Sakari. Okay, you got GMS. You got IUIC. You got HOI. You got a lot of camps, right? But we as a people, we are a camp. That's what the Most High is letting you know. As a nation, we are a camp. And a camp is pretty much a military military personnel, an army, if you can understand. So you have to abstain from filthiness. Deuteronomy chapter 23 and verse 15. Next law. Thou shalt not deliver unto his master the servant which is escaped from his master unto thee. Meaning what? If a brother had a runaway slave, then you can't be like the paddy wagon and you catch runaway slaves and turn them back to his master. Did Esau keep this commandment? Right? Give me one account from the 1400s up into the late 1800s where Esau kept that commandment. Isn't that in the Bible, man? We're reading it. So why would you have a police department? Because that's all, that's what your police department is. That's why you have your sheriffs, your paddy wagons, your slave catchers. So Esau's a hypocrite, man. The Lord said, thou shalt not deliver unto his master the servant which is escaped from his master unto thee. So that's why this devil got to be destroyed, because he's a wicked man. We're going to explain why you can't deliver him up. First, I want to get on you, Esau. How many so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans died, man, trying to run away, thinking about being turned back into their slave master? Millions. Just the reluctance to even want to leave, knowing that if you escaped, you would be brought back and killed, lynched, punished, whipped, raped, etc. Man. So that's why these devils. I gotta go back and look at that slave Bible. The brother you call got the slave Bible. I gotta see how much of Deuteronomy was taken out of that slave Bible. Let's see. Let me find that real quick. Right. Let's see. Slave Bible. Here. Deuteronomy. Oh, boy, I gotta see that slave Bible, man. Right? I would I maybe I'll get that slave Bible book. It kind of I believe, and I could be here. This the Negro Bible. That's a good one. The Negro Bible, the slave Bible, and they kind of tell you how much was taken out from each book. Now I believe in a Negro Bible. I believe I could be wrong, but I believe all army was taken out. Right? Let's see how much of Deuteronomy. I believe all of it was. Right? I believe all of it was taken out. Was taken out of the Negro Bible. Okay, let's see. Let's see. So there's only 10% of the New Test. I mean, of the Old Testament, right? I wish they kind of went and to it. Let's see. Bear with me. They took out Exodus. So they took out Exodus, Psalms, and Revelation because it could quote unquote could instill in the slaves a dangerous hope for freedom and dreams of equality. You see that? So they took out Psalms, Revelation, and Exodus because it might think that you could be free. And I believe they took out Deuteronomy, right? I believe they also took out Deuteronomy as well, right? We'll kind of go back on that. So let's read this again in Deuteronomy 23 and 15. Thou shalt not deliver unto his master the servant which is escaped from his master unto thee. Because what? There's a reason why he escaped. That's what the Mosai said. Right? There's a reason why he would escape. He was being oppressed, beat, unlawfully treated. Right? That's why he escaped. So the Mosai said, don't bring him back to this guy because you don't even know why he left, man. You're supposed to deal with your servants the same way you want the Most High to deal with you. All right. He shall dwell with thee, even among you, and that place which he shall choose, and one of thy gates, where it liketh him best, thou shalt not oppress him, because he was being oppressed in under his previous master. So you can't turn him back in. Right? Let's get this in Ecclesiastes chapter 33. Let's get a precept on that. So Esau completely violated that commandment. And another one we're about to read. Ecclesiastes chapter 33 and 29. Dealing with your slaves. But be not excessive toward any, and without discretion do nothing. If thou have a servant, let him be unto thee as thyself, because thou hast bought him with a price. If thou have a servant, entreat him as a brother, for thou hast need of him as of thine own soul. If thou entreat him evil, and he run from thee, which way wilt thou go to seek him? And you're not going to be able to find him, right? So if you don't entreat him as a brother and you entreat him evil, he's going to run away. That's why the law says don't turn him back in, because more than likely he left, or 1,000% he left because he was not being treated as a brother. He was being treated as another nation. That's why you have to have him live with you and you can't oppress him. And again, Esau didn't keep this law. Deuteronomy chapter 23 and 17. There should be no whore of the daughters of Israel, right? Slakia. Nor a sodomite of the sons of Israel. Yeah, no Sukiana, red, whatever, blank red, whatever they call it. Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, Meg the Stallion, Glorilla, Beyonce, right? All of these whores. What is a whore, right? Where a whore is a woman who has sex from man to man to man to man, right? That's a whore, straight up and down. You got Eve saying, well, it's hot girl summer, spring break. I'm gonna do what I want to. It's my body. I want to explore my own body, have sexual liberation. Well, you're violating the scripture right here, man. And really, the only man that you should have ever laid with is your husband. You should only know one man all the days of your life. Now you got Eve with 5 different men. He don't please me like my first man. Well, you're not supposed to know nothing like that, man, because you're only supposed to have one man. That's why it breeds confusion. Now I can go deep into I'm not going to go too deep into this topic and get into the specifics of it. But you can't be a whore. Women are supposed to be modest, in order. Marriages should be sanctified. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 13 and 4. And we got to get back to that as a nation, man. Right? There's still whoredom amongst Israelite women and whoredom amongst Israelite men. You got Eve on a 3rd husband. Well, I didn't know I was married. Then she goes to the next congregation. Oh, I didn't know sex was marriage. Then it goes to the 3rd congregation. Is sex really marriage? Right? So they just find the reason to whore their body out, man. You know? Hebrews chapter 13 and 4. Marriage is honorable and all, and the bed undefiled, but whoremongers and adulterers, the Most High will judge. And the Lord will judge you by killing you, man. Giving you strange diseases and itches and scratches and things that ought not be. Most High will jam you up, man. If you're a whoremonger, then you're profiting off of sex from women, and you're just committing adultery. What is adultery? A man that has sex with a woman that's promised to or married to another man. And from a woman's standpoint, adultery would be when you are indeed married or promised to another man. If you step outside of that and lay down with any man, that is adultery. So no sodomites either. I saw this who's that? They had that I can't stand that man. That man with the dress. He had a picture next to Nas, Lil Nas X, right? Let's see, I don't even know if I should be able to type his name. Right? Was that the Grammys? I saw a picture on social media. He had a Bible in his hand. Little Nas. Maybe I could just say Bible in hand. All right, we're safe with that. Okay. Boy, I don't want to go to images, man. What's that guy he was with, man? Let me say award show. It had to be an award show. Okay, that was the VMAs. Okay, Lil Nas X VMAs. You gotta be careful with this search, man. Bible. And let's see. Okay, I can't. They're not showing it. This guy's off. But he had a picture with that dude with the dress on, man. Right? So he's the top sodomite. He's the most popular sodomite on earth. Look at this. And the Most High is going to destroy this man if he don't repent. Now he can repent, right? But if he's out of this, he's definitely not going to make it, man. He's definitely not going to make it, right? And there's a picture of him holding the Bible too, with this other sodomite. You know who I'm talking about. The guy who always got a dress on. He always got a big dress on. You know, so the Lord said, if you're a sodomite, right, you're gonna be cast down, man. Right, you're gonna be cast down. Thus said the Lord. Right, and then sodomy. What's this guy? Look at this. The Lord dealing with this. Oh, that's that guy right there. That guy with the dress on. Right. See, he had a Bible in his hand. You see that? Pink news. This guy was walking around. This is mockery. He had a Bible in his hand. You got that other sodomite with his damn dress on, man. And they was holding hand in hand with a Bible. So the Lord said there should be no sodomite among the sons of Israel, man. All that will let him be, he could do what he wanted. Right? Let him, who are you to say what a man should do? Well, the Most High told you, man. Yahweh. Bashima Mashiach Yahushai, man. So there's no sexual liberation. There's no just doing what feels good, man. A woman should be only laying down with her husband. Now you got swingers. You got, I'm not gonna name all of the things they do in the world, but you know what they do in the world, man. You know, you got wife swaps. You got sodomites. You got sodomite bars, sodomite restaurants. You know, let's read on. Thou shalt not bring the hire of a whore or the price of a dog into the house of the Lord thy God for any vow. For even both these are abomination unto the Lord thy God. So if you make a vow, you got to pay back your vow. You can't bring the hire of a whore, right? Meaning from a prostitute, right? Somebody that laid down with a woman and said, for this sexual exchange, I'll give you 50 shekels of silver, right? So you take the hire of the whore and the price of a dog and you try to bring it into the house of the Lord, man. All money ain't good money, right? You can't deal with the price of blood, the hire of a whore. All these things are not permissible to the house of the Most High. Verse 19, thou shalt not lend upon usury to thy brother, usury of money, usury of victuals, usury of anything that is lent upon usury. So you can't put interest on anything. I can't give a brother a car and say, yeah, for, it's a 10% interest on it. Or sell a brother a phone and say, yeah, for every dollar, I'll 50 cents on a dollar. Right? That's interest, man. That's called usury. It got to be straight up. Any transaction has to be straight up and be done in writing. The Lord said, deliver all things in writing. So you can't put usury on your fellow brother. But you know who you can do it to? To another nation. And to a stranger, thou mayest lend upon usury. So hold on. How is this equality? If the Most High loves everybody equally, why can we not put usury upon each other as Israelites, but you can do it to another nation? That's called discrimination. Straight up and down. And that's what Amalek do and these other nations. If you're a Moabite and you walk in, every nation does it, the Moabites take care of each other. It's $5.99 to a Moabite. It's $12.99 to an Israelite. They tax you, man. They switch up the system. And then these Ishmaelites, they take care of Ishmaelites, man. It's $3.99 to the Ishmaelites. For you, they said, for you, I'll do $10. Talking about for you. They always say that, for you, I'll do so-and-so. But hey, We're supposed to be doing that, man. Right? Helping our brothers out, and then kind of getting over in these other nations, man. They do that to you all the time. They hire them before you. They get the better deals. They get the better houses. They live in the better neighborhoods. Right? This is teaching you to love your own people, man. Unto a stranger thou mayest lend upon usury, but unto thy brother thou shalt not lend upon usury, that the Lord thy God may bless thee and all that thou settest thine hand to and the land whither thou goest to possess it. Right? Thou shalt not vow a vow unto the Lord thy God. It's like it. When thou shalt vow a vow unto the Lord thy God, thou shalt not slack to pay it. For the Lord thy God will surely require it of thee, and it will be a sin indeed. So if you make a vow, you got to pay your vow. Now, there are rules behind a vow, right? But if I say, man, if the Most High allows me to get to work on Monday, then I'm going to go on a fast for 10 days straight. If I say that, I got to do it. A vow is essentially a promise. See, man don't like when man break their word, but man can't really do much if you break your word. They can be upset. They can get crying. They can be mad, right? But you can't do that with the Most High. Excuses with the Lord. See, man, if Salakia, I know you ain't mean to say that. You kind of spoke too soon. And look, I'm gonna let that go. It is what it is. No sweat. Don't worry about it. Can you do that with the Most High? Can you just say something out of your mouth and say, well, Lord, hold on. I really wasn't thinking. Nope. When you say it, you got to deal with it. Whatever promise how you make to the Most High, Lord, tomorrow I vow I will read 20 chapters a day. I'll make that vow. And if I read 20 chapters a day, Lord, I pray that you give me X, Y, and Z. Right? That's quid pro. Let's get this real quick. This is Numbers chapter 30. Numbers chapter 30 and verse 2. If a man vow a vow unto the Lord, or swear an oath to bind his soul with the bond, he shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceedeth out of his mouth. So you got to do whatever you say you're going to do. The Lord don't care if it was an accident. Or if you 2 days later, you regretted what you said. If you said it, you got to deal with it. There are men that had to offer their daughters up. You got to pay your vows. You got a woman, she could vow a vow, but her could disannul her vow, or her husband could disannul her vow. Right? She might be quick, she might be emotional, she might say, and her husband and father could say, look, we're going to wash away with that one. I don't know what she's on. Right? And then they'll take away that vow. So let's go to this. So be careful with your vows. If you make a vow, you got to stand on it. Or the Lord will kill you, man. He'll get up with you. That's Ecclesiastes chapter 5. Say not before the Lord, it was before the angel, it was an error. Oh, I didn't mean to say that. I meant to say, no, you already said it. But if thou forbear to vow, it shall be no sin in thee. So if you don't vow, it's not a sin. But if you do vow and don't fulfill your vow, it is a sin. That which is going out of thy lips, thou shalt keep and perform, even a free will offering, according as thou hast vowed unto the Lord thy God, which thou hast promised out of thy mouth. See, that's a promise. So even if it's a free will offering, something small, something, whatever, small or large, you got to keep what you have vowed. You have to pay your vows. When thou comest into thy neighbor's vineyard, then thou mayest eat grapes, thy fill at thine own pleasure, but thou shalt not put any in the vessel. Right? When thou comest into the standing corn of thy neighbor, then thou mayest pluck the ears with thine hand, but thou shalt not move a sickle into thy neighbor's standing corn. Yeah, so the Lord had laws essentially to take care of us, like a welfare system. You can go into your neighbor's yard, and there was no sign that said no trespass. No guy waiting out there to shoot you. A man can actually walk in your yard and eat grapes, and you can't say, "Well, what are you doing?" And now if you see him with a bag and he's trying to store some up, he's robbing you. Now you got to say, "Well, look, you're going off." But he can walk in your neighbor's vineyard, man, and kind of just eat at his own pleasure, and you have to accept that because he's hungry, and you're merciful, and you want your brother to be treated the same way that you want to be treated because you love your neighbor. And he's not eating that for fun. He's eating that because he needs to eat it. He could go to his own, but he doesn't have his own. So he's coming to your vineyard and he's going to eat, and you're going to allow him to eat at his own pleasure. But you're not going to allow him to take a vessel. So everybody, imagine you went to one brother's vineyard, kind of ate a little bit, went to another brother's. You could live, man. You could live off the land. You wouldn't die of starvation. Because at any given time, you can go into your neighbor's yard and eat his fruit, man. Get a few apples, eat them, stand there, shalom, and shalom. Yeah, eat what you need, eat what you need, take what you need, and you say, "Oh, I'm just getting a few. I'll be, I'm all right." You say, "Just take your time, eat what you need." Right? Y'all salute each other, and you send that brother's on his way, man. Then he might come back tomorrow. But you got to be merciful. You can't be vexed by it. Oh, here he come again. This never got his. And now you can help your brother out, but you have to allow him to eat those grapes, man. Same thing with the corn. Now, if he come in there with 2 sickles in his hand and he's just sickling and sifting away, right, like a demon, then you got to say something. But if you come there and kind of eat the corn, rub it with his hands, take the wheat and eat it there, stationary, that's fine. Now you have to accept that and be merciful and love your neighbor, man. Right? These are laws of mercy. Like Yahweh said to the Pharisees, that we have omitted the weightier matters of the law. Right? Matthew chapter 23 and 23. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. These ought ye to have done, and not to leave the other undone. So part of this weightier matters is judgment, mercy, and faith. So it's very weighty to exercise mercy to your neighbor, right? That's what Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 24, 25 is going into, right? That's what that's going into. But with that, I have to close up, giving, of course, our honor and our glory to Yahweh. Ba'ashima Mashiach Malak Yahushai. Most High willing, you were edified. Most High willing, everybody had another a mighty memorial blowing of the trumpets. The Day of Atonement is September 23rd at sundown. Be mindful, nobody should be working Saturday night to Sunday night, September 23rd at sundown to September 24th at sundown, right? That is the Day of Atonement. It draws nigh. Keep the law, statutes, and the commandments. Keep the Sabbath day holy. No buying, no selling, no sex on the Sabbath, no cooking, no doing your own pleasures. With that, Yahweh Ba'ashima Mashiach Malak Yahushai. Kwam Yashal. Shalom.